Good evening, this is Point Blank, and karibu sana to KTN News. My guest today is Martha Wangari Karua. Before I talk to her, what has she done before?
Martha Wangari Karua is an accomplished precedent-setting lawyer cum politician. Her legal practice advanced the tenets of family, constitutional and criminal law, establishing norms that improve protections for society's most vulnerable members. As an activist lawyer, Martha worked with colleagues to agitate for expanded democratic space. The role of women in Kenyan politics has greatly benefited from Martha Karua's effort and exemplary career. As a founder of organizations such as League of Kenyan Women Voters or leading women's advocacy through FIDA, Martha actively lobbied for increased representation of women in political positions. This is a feat she further advanced as a Member of Parliament and Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. In these capacities, she oversaw the architecture of a self-propelling legislation that yielded a long fight for the new Kenyan Constitution. As Deputy of Government Business, Martha provided leadership that enabled the government to steer its business in very difficult times. Martha also led the efforts to reconstruct Kenya's essential institutions by steering a legislative agenda that guided the coalition government. As a Member of Parliament for Gishogo constituency and as Minister of Water, Martha instituted reforms in the decentralized water services and improved administrative efficacy and financial accountability. Her tenure as Minister of Water catapulted the efficiency and funding for the ministry. In 2008, Martha culminated her passion and political career in a presidential bid which set new standards of integrity and accountability and challenged established attitudes on leadership and women in leadership. Outside government, Martha continues to be principled and accomplished champion of social justice. A doting grandmother and a mother of two, she holds an LLB from University of Nairobi and an MBA from USIU.
You're watching Point Blank here at KTN News. It's my privilege, anyway, on my mother's behalf, Jeriwa Deka, to introduce her friend, Martha Karua. Karibu sana here.
Thank you, Tony.
To KTN News. Thank you for coming.
I'll ask you point blank. How come you have not been inviting women to your show while I thank you for inviting me?
There's only one Martha Karua.
This show, and there are very many women who are probably even better.
Martha,
so don't forget women.
So my mother is going to deny me access. Anyway, Martha, if I remember correctly, the first thing you did as cabinet minister was water reforms. As Minister for Water, you are very passionate. In fact, a lot of people say, only toa mambo ya kukula kwa Ministry of Water.
It is true that the task I had on my desk as Minister of Water was to roll out the water sector reforms. I operationalized the Water Act 2002. I rolled out the reforms. It was difficult, fighting with local authorities who did not want the model we were bringing, because it's managing, everything water was being managed together as it is today.
No, but Martha, the issue was you removed executive power from yourself.
Yes.
As minister to the boards.
To devolve water. And because that's the first thing I did not miss any power because I had not exercised it before. I'd come in as new minister to do the water sector reforms. But the one thing we did was to separate regulation and service delivery.
Martha, do we have enough water in Kenya for our people?
No, Kenya is water scarce, and therefore, those who will remember, I used to talk of efficient and effective use of our water resources, which is lacking today. I was talking about managing our water resource base well. That is looking after the water towers, the forests. That is looking after the resource so that it's not contaminated.
I'm asking you this, Mheshimiwa, because the Kaine, is my backyard.
Yes.
And Nairobi depends. What all those politics? Do you have any view on
We have very little water right now. There's water rationing everywhere. There is hunger. I went home last weekend. Rivers I've seen flow since my childhood are now dry. I couldn't believe it's the same place.
Can it be fixed,
River
Martha?
Sagana. We can mitigate. We need to continue looking after our resource base, which is basically forests. We need to reforest. It is so sad that the government started the work on the Mau, and then because of politics, it was stopped. It is so sad that we still have people felling trees indiscriminately from time to time in Mount Kenya, in Aberdare. We still have not realized, as we should, that if we do not mitigate the effects of climate change by doing things we should have already done before, we're going in for hard times.
Okay, I think, Martha, you did a lot of work with the boards and water, and I think the regulations will be discussed over time. But people remember you as Minister for Justice under Mwai Kibaki.
Yeah.
And I just want to start this discussion with you by asking, first of all, what do you recollect, starting that job?
I first remember that it was immediately after the failed referendum of 2005. Kibaki sent us all home. He dissolved cabinet, and then he formed a new cabinet after 3 weeks. And that's when he moved me from water to justice. I wasn't elated when I was named Minister of Justice because I knew the ministry had lots of problems, one of them being the failed referendum. But when I soul searched, I said somebody had to do it, and I said, I'll step up and do it.
There are 2-3 elements of that, your job, that I want to discuss. But I want to first discuss the surgery of...
radical surgery.
Of the judiciary.
Yeah, that happened in 2003. Immediately the Kibaki government came in. I was Minister for Water. The Justice Ministry was with Honorable...
But I thought it was not Kiraito, it was Ringera driven, was it not?
Yes, Judge Ringera was appointed to a committee that was investigating judges or looking at the work of judges. And it came up with a list of judges who could no longer remain in the judiciary, who needed to be removed. So the radical surgery was Ringera-led, but he was appointed by the Kibaki government.
So what prompted, before I would like Kenyans to know from you what he said, but what prompted you, what was the crisis?
What prompted the radical surgery? One of the complaints when we were in the opposition and before the removal of the KANU government through the ballot was that the judiciary had become totally corrupt and was therefore not dispensing justice. And therefore something drastic needed to be done. So immediately we came in, the committee to probe judicial officers was set up, headed by Judge Ringera, and it came up, that's how the radical surgery started. It saw the exit of many judges and magistrates, and the judiciary, now what was a new judiciary.
So would you say that you and Kibaki at that point, because you are now working after the effect, after the fact, were trying to say to Kenyans, we need to fix the judiciary, and why?
In fact, that was one of the tasks I found at the Ministry of Justice, judicial reforms. And actually, it is the entire justice chain that was being reformed. There was a project called GJ Laws, Justice, Law, and Order Sector. It had the prisons, it had the prosecution, it had the judiciary, it had all the people involved, the police, all the people involved in the justice chain.
But Martha, your critics and Kibaki's critics will say that you muddled this up. Because when you had a chance to bring in the 2010 Constitution, you created a Judicial Service Commission that serves by the people themselves.
I think what we have to know is that the 2010 Constitution was facilitated, the passing of it was facilitated by the Kibaki administration. I was Minister of Justice, responsible for the Act of Parliament that helped us to complete the incompleted business of passing the constitution.
I'm sorry to cut you short. I'm talking to you point blank about the Judicial Service Commission. And I'm saying to you, because you're here point blank, did you muddle it up with Kibaki?
Point blank, I will say no. The Constitution is a negotiated document. The Judicial Service Commission is just, the creation of the Judicial Service Commission is just one component. It was negotiated by Kenyans. There was a committee of experts comprising Kenyans from all walks of life. There were Kenyans contributing, including lawyers. That was the agreed formula. And I know the reason we are having problems today is that no rules were developed initially on how to appoint members of the Judicial Service Commission.
But Mheshimiwa, across the border in Uganda,
yeah,
the Judicial Service Commission does not have active lawyers. It's represented by retired judges. You yourself, you are in charge. You are watching our back. You are our Minister for Justice.
If you remember, Tony, point blank, I resigned from government in April 2009. We passed the Constitution in 2010. So the implementation of that Constitution in 2011, 2010-2011, the appointment of the Judicial Service Commission, I had ceased to be minister. And I'll tell you point blank that was I a minister at the time the first Judicial Service Commission was appointed, we would have laid down regulations to ensure that a lawyer who is in active practice and appears before judges does not become a member of the Judicial Service Commission. Because when you appear before judges who depend on you for promotion, who depend on you for welfare, who even depend on you for discipline, you are actually, you have conflict of interest. They're going to defer to you. And we might...
Mheshimiwa, this is very interesting because you're saying, and this country trusts you, Martha Karua, this country trusts you. You're saying, as constituted, the Judicial Service Commission is not a tenable model. I'm
saying morally it is wrong, and I've said it before in Law Society gatherings. I said it in Mombasa last December, not Mombasa, Malindi, when I went to a conference, and I am saying that a practicing lawyer who is active in court ought not to be a member of the Judicial Service Commission.
Martha Karua, I have to ask you this for Kenyans. Are you saying the law that has made or a referendum question?
Not necessarily.
What are you saying?
I am saying that we need regulations. And if it means anchoring it in the Constitution, nothing would be wrong with that. We have a problem to fix, and I'm not saying that the problem is only there because we have practicing lawyers. We also maybe must start considering separation of the technical issues and policy issues.
I ask you this because many studies worldwide, people don't trust presidents. People don't trust members of parliament. The last bastion for the common man
is the judiciary. Maybe we should start thinking that a Chief Justice ought not to chair the Judicial Service Commission. Otherwise, you put him into problems.
No, Martha, I'm asking you point blank, not to think. What is your position?
My position,
should or should not?
Having seen what is happening, I think we should have a model like the one at Central Bank, where the Central Bank governor is not the chair of the Central Bank board. Having a Judicial Service Commission chair who is not the Chief Justice, but having the Chief Justice in the Judicial Service Commission and having him chair all the technical issues. That helps the Chief Justice to move away from controversies he doesn't need. So if there is a removal of a judge, an investigation of a judge, that covers the Chief Justice from any conflicted...
Martha, Kenyans think that the referendum call is about position for yourselves, you people in the political class. But is Martha saying, away from politics, would Karua propose in a possible referendum to look at the Judicial Service Commission and the way in which it's composed or constituted, and why? Would you or would you not?
Yes, I'm saying...
I'm asking you point blank.
Point blank. These are the issues that must be re-examined. While examining that and many issues, it's not just about position. No constitution is perfect. We must start asking ourselves, 8 years on, Do we think that this constitution fits? Are there areas we need to look at? But again, point blank, I must tell you, Tony, that there are areas we have not tried to implement properly.
I'm really happy about a woman on the show.
Like the gender rule.
You're talking, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, tell me about that.
About the gender rule.
Yes.
We are asking as women, why are we discussing amending the constitution when we have failed to effect the gender rule? So when we discuss the amendments, we must discuss how shall we bring gender parity in representation. And the constitution clearly says we should have an electoral system that helps bring inclusiveness, gender inclusiveness, inclusiveness of people with disabilities, youth, etc. Therefore, we must start asking, isn't it time to adopt a proportional representation system?
And before I come to that, coming back to the gender issues,
yes.
I've always wondered why we compromised on the woman representative. Because in all these counties, the woman representative is a good idea, but there's no work. Would it not be better, Martha, to have a rule that if the governor is a man, the deputy should be a woman?
If the governor is a woman, the deputy should be a man.
I'm asking you point blank.
Point blank, I want it known.
What do women
the name of a woman, the second name of a woman is not deputy. Women can hold the positions and the men can deputize.
So why do you want to say woman representative?
It's either gender. We are saying woman representative because we are trying to redress a historical wrong
I'm asking,
of excluding women. But once we fix, should we adopt a proportional representation, we will not need nominated seats, we will not need top-up, we will not need woman rep, it will just be
explain yourself to the average Kenyan what you mean by proportional. And also, Martha, as you do so, I'm only saying, can we use the woman rep position and put it in a more useful executive role? Or should it just be a picture?
I'm firstly saying that the woman rep is not properly understood. Being a woman representative in parliament doesn't mean that all you do is women. Some of those women, like Sabina Chege, is now chairing the health committee. She last chaired the education committee. So a woman member of parliament is a member of parliament just like the male member of parliament. They represent the country and then their constituencies. When you are a woman rep, you are representing the nation, that's why it's called the National Assembly, and secondly, a constituency called women. You see? So issues affecting women are on your focus, but first and foremost, you're a member of the National Assembly, amplifying the voice of women. So when people are asking what the women reps have done, just look at them. They'll have done national work, and they'll have focused on their constituency.
Mheshimiwa, you've talked about proportional representation. Briefly, what are you saying?
What proportional representation?
Wananchi wa kawaida akuelewe.
It means you elect a political party, not individuals. Currently, we are going to the ballot and we are electing 6 people in a general election. In proportional representation, you will only cast a single vote for the party. So if you are voting for NARC Kenya, it will only be 1 vote for NARC Kenya. When the votes are aggregated in Kirinyaga County, for instance, if the votes for NARC Kenya are X, then the Electoral Commission will allocate NARC Kenya the proportional number of MCAs. And Party Y will get its number of MCAs. When it comes to members of parliament, in Kirinyaga there are 4, then it means again the Electoral Commission will do the allocation based on the proportional representation. So you don't elect candidates, you elect political parties. And what does that mean, Tony?
Yes.
It means that the incentive to individual candidates to amass wealth through corruption, through pilferage of public funds, will not be there because you're not campaigning as Tony. It's your party that is campaigning.
I know Kenyans want to hear about corruption, but I'll come to that after the break. But on the issue with regard to parties, you've tried this, Martha. And Charity Ngilu tried it with SDP. And many would argue that had you been in Jubilee, you'd be the governor. A lot of people think our politics is so tribal, so contaminated, that how do we change, how do we make the paradigm shift?
The paradigm shift will be made by trying and keeping at it. When I first vied for parliament in '92, I was told they don't elect women, and not young women like I was then. I persisted, I was elected. So even today, when I'm being told that women cannot be elected, it is not true. Women can be elected, but we need equal access to the media.
Martha, I know you want to talk about the woman issue, but I'm asking point blank about the ethnic issue. Not because you're a woman, I think you know.
The men have ethnicity, point blank, men have ethnicity too. So you cannot say that women have not been elected because of ethnicity. If men are still getting elected when there is ethnicity, women too can get elected.
So you, Martha, would never join Uhuru's party Jubilee, and you don't think that that made it a problem? Because I'm asking this because...
I actually had invited Uhuru to join NAK Kenya, because NAK Kenya is a political party. And it's a political party looking for power through the ballot. So remaining in my party is not only a constitutional right, but in Kenya we have to have the resilience to build parties. NAK Kenya was a big party in 2007. It was the largest party in Kibaki's coalition, larger than KANU, which was led by President Uhuru.
But Mheshimiwa,
then the tables turned. A newly formed party, TNA and URP, carried the day. So any party can carry the day.
But Mheshimiwa, my older brother Paul Moite, alijaribu ina Safina. My older sister Charity Ngilu alijaribu ina SDP. Wewe Mheshimiwa, with due respect, umejaribu na NAK Kenya.
Na bado nitajaribu.
Are you saying you're not giving up?
Giving up is not in my vocabulary.
You are saying big parties cannot run Kenya, and why?
What I'm saying is that a big party can shrink and become the small party. Ask KANU, they'll confirm that to you. Ask NAK Kenya. We had 34 members of parliament. In 2007, 2013 elections, we only had one. Today we have none, but we are a comeback party. Watch this space.
You're watching Point Blank. This is KTN News. Martha Karua anasema haogopi. NAK Kenya is here to stay. We'll be back. This is Point Blank at KTN News. Waswahili wanasema atakaye chavunguni shauti ainame. Mheshimiwa, this is the issue. The state of the nation. A lot of people tell me your brother, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, is looking weak. Your view?
I think after promising people that heads will roll, people are watching to see. But I see that he has a structural difficulty because his second in command has arrogated himself the duty of pushing back on the fight against corruption.
Unajua, Mheshimiwa, this is Point Blank. You can't say second in command. You say who you are talking about.
Point blank, the deputy president has taken upon himself the role of pushing back the fight against corruption.
So, and I'm coming to an issue of when you are Minister for Justice.
Yes.
You've served the president.
Yes.
You've served the cabinet.
Yes.
What happens behind the scenes? What happens every day when Uhuru Kenyatta wakes up? Does he run the country alone? Does the cabinet assist him? Is the cabinet contaminated?
I think the cabinet assists him and each member assists mainly on the docket that they hold. When you are deputy president, you are in the presidency. So you are the right-hand person. And it's been, Kenyans have been treated to a specter. There's President Uhuru talking about sustaining the fight against graft. And there is the deputy president sometimes himself, other times through his brigade.
Martha, let me to ili point blank. Wewe mwenyewe ulikana Mwiraria.
Yeah.
You and Mwiraria agreed when Kibaki.
When ANGLO leasing came up, Tony, and I had just been appointed Minister of Justice. It had come up in just before the end of 2005. And I got appointed Minister of Justice December 2005. January, February 2006, when the opposition led by none other than the President, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, were pushing the government because of the ANGLO leasing scandal, I had to advise Kibaki as the Minister of Justice. And I first went to my cabinet colleague, Mwiraria, the late Mwiraria, who was handling Treasury, a man of great honor. And I told him government is going to collapse.
Collapse?
Unless if, because people were annoyed, even members of the President Party, the PNU coalition, they were very upset. The whole country was upset. The opposition was baying for our blood. And I told
Uhuru went to see
Mwiraria,
Gidongo in London, I think.
Yes, he had gone. In fact, there was a move to starve the committee, the parliamentary committee, of money so that Uhuru and the PSC team do not go to London.
To take evidence from Gidongo.
And we told them that we can't do that. I told them that we cannot do that. So he was facilitated. He went to London, saw Gidongo. He comes back with this report. But even before he comes back with the report, and there was push that we should reject the report because it was implicating ministers. And I said, as the person who was supposed to answer on behalf of government in Parliament, I told President Kibaki point blank that we must accept the contents of that report.
Are you telling the country, as a former Minister for Justice,
Yeah.
that Mwiraria resigned in the public interest?
In fact, just before then, I told Kibaki point blank that we must accept the report. Kibaki was a gentleman and he could listen. And he asked me, what are the implications? And I told him. And he told me, if you're sure that's the way we should go, you have my blessing, go accept the report. But behind the scenes, the ministers implicated were getting jittery and were saying that I am actually selling them short by accepting the report. But the president stood by me. We accepted the report by Uhuru. We only corrected 2 mistakes, and not through amendment, through contribution, that there was no evidence implicating the president, and that the vice president then, Uncle Moody, had only said he approved it subject to technical evaluation.
So I'm taking you back, because I know your friend Uhuru is watching.
Yeah.
Your former boss, Kibaki, is watching.
Yeah.
The country
Yeah.
are watching Karua.
Yeah.
If then you advised Kenyatta,
Yeah.
and he was head of the opposition,
Yes.
that you will support, and government worked with his report
Yeah.
to deal with ANGLO leasing.
Yeah.
Now he's president. You are the older sister. No, Martha,
Yes.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Who is going to save Uhuru if not you?
I think he has advisors.
No, he's here
But
already.
point blank, I would tell him, if a minister is mentioned in corruption and they are suspects, they cannot be investigated while they're still in office. They'll obviously interfere with investigations. We've seen heads of government agencies being released on bond and evidence disappearing from their offices.
Mheshimiwa, when you...
Honest people do not wait to be told, step aside.
They consider their position.
They should consider. Mwiraria did not wait for Kibaki to tell him. When I went to discuss with him at Treasury, he agreed, and we just went to tell the President Kibaki that Mwiraria is going to step aside in order to preserve the integrity of the presidency and of cabinet.
Mother, you are known as the mother of step aside. It
is provided for in the law. It's actually stepping aside is a voluntary, is a self-suspension. Because if you don't step aside, normally civil servants or state officers who are implicated in investigations are suspended. That's what the Civil Service Code of Conduct says. When you are a cabinet minister, a person with high responsibility, you do not have to wait to be suspended. You can voluntarily say, in order that, like Mwiraria said, in order that my name may be cleared and to preserve the integrity of the presidency and of cabinet, I voluntarily step aside.
I'm asking you this because there seems to be a misunderstanding.
Yes.
That unless the penal code is used and somebody taken to a court, that's the only way in which somebody... The issue of Chapter 6, Kenyans would like to know from you, as really the pioneer Minister for Justice in Kenya.
The president hires and fires minister, even as per the constitution that we have. A person who has nothing to fear, and especially a person with high responsibility of a cabinet secretary, should be able to tell the boss, look, I am the focus of investigation. I voluntarily step aside to facilitate investigations. If you are cleared, you return. If you're not cleared, you go home for good.
My worry is this. We've never seen this before in Kenya, where a deputy president can hire, and I don't know if I want to use the word hire, or can have members of parliament, particularly from Kenyatta's backyard, your backyard, 25 or 30, or I don't know, and their work every day is to say and threaten the institutions that are meant to be independent. Martha, I'm saying this to you because it's not normal. Is this normal, Martha?
It is not. Parliament actually has gone against its oath of office. You cannot have a deputy president, all parliamentarians becoming the defenders of corruption in government.
Threatening.
Crying that they are targeted. If you are not corrupt, then you are very sure that the investigations will never come to you. If you threaten me today that I'll be under investigation, I will tell you, hurry up to the DCI.
You know, Martha, I'm asking you
because
this.
I know I have
I am asking you this, Mheshimiwa, because it's looking as though it was a plan. Under Kibaki and you are dealing mostly with Kikuyu or Mount Kenya leaders who were purged from the cabinet.
There were more than Mount Kenya, they were diverse.
But would you say largely that he...
Two, three, but there were others.
And I ask you this because the Rift Valley, community who are saying they are being targeted. It seems as though it's making Uhuru nervous.
By the way, we also got, after the passage of the Constitution, when I was a backbencher, we got the coalition government to force the deputy president out as a minister. He was Minister for Agriculture. I asked a question in Parliament, unsupported by Kharoale, who is now his main support. Parliament supported, and the Right Honorable retired Prime Minister actually got him out of government. We were able to also get Senator Wetangula to agree to step aside to facilitate the Tokyo investigations. And he was returned to cabinet when the investigations were over.
I'm asking this because, Martha, really having served in cabinet, is it normal for the president's party, Jubilee, his MPs, his senators, it's extraordinary.
It is totally wrong. And if members of parliament are the ones pushing back on investigations, it becomes very difficult. People will express disappointment in the president, but the president, to win this war, he needs support of everyone.
Mheshimiwa, you're a presidential candidate. How can you imagine that your deputy sponsors your MPs fighting your policy? And
we are doing politics without honor, politics without values. Politics with values. If the deputy president differs with the president, even though the president has no power to fire him, he ought to voluntarily leave government because his position becomes untenable. You know, even a deputy governor who differs with his governor should actually exit.
Mheshimiwa, I want to ask you, as the head of Kenya, the head of Amani National Congress, Musalia Mudavadi, the head of Wiper, Kalonzo Musyoka, the head of Ford Kenya, Moses Wetangula, all of them agree with you. What is wrong with you as political leaders from different parties calling for a meeting with the president to discuss corruption? You know, Karua, people know you. Why are you sitting idle?
I am not sitting idle.
What are you doing? No, I am putting it to you point blank. You have a phone. You can call leaders.
I think
you can call Gideon Moy, you can call all
point
this.
blank, it must be said that the buck stops with the president. We can come in to help, and we do come in to help and support, but the buck stops with the president. It is his administration. Things are going helter-skelter.
So Martha Karua will not help the people of Kenya? No, I am not asking Uhuru, I'm asking you.
I am daily helping the people of Kenya
and
sharing my thoughts as I have.
As a candidate for president, I put it to you and your other contenders, yes. Musalia, Kadonzo, and all of you.
Yeah.
Don't tell me about Uhuru. What about you? What are you people doing?
I have no powers to order any agency to do anything. I can only render my voice like I am doing now.
So what is your voice?
My voice is that the president has to crack the whip. Discipline in his party, which is Jubilee. And I was happy to see ODM wielding the whip of discipline. NAK Kenya did that long time ago. If you remember 2011, we disciplined 2 members. The court gave them a reprieve, and we were not able to send them home. But NAK Kenya is a party of discipline. And we must exercise party discipline. You cannot be elected on the ticket of a political party and then you go to oppose its policies in parliament. That is chaos. So the president's party, Jubilee, must wield the whip, and all political parties in Kenya must start wielding the whip. But in doing so, it must be done in a manner that is above board, so that a party is not, you know,
As a senior lawyer,
yeah.
Mheshimiwa,
yeah.
I think you've also seen cases in other countries
yeah.
where politicians have actually had to pay the price. Israel,
yeah.
Perhaps, you know, what do you know, South Korea.
Yeah. South Korea is the best example. They have 2 presidents in jail and 1 being tried or investigated. Brazil is also having a former president investigated. It is time, we said in Kenya, no sacred cows, that if you commit an economic crime against Kenyans, we should not spare you.
So, in your view, where is the problem? Is it political will or capacity of our investigative agencies? There's been a lot of talk with respect to my brother and friend, the president. Yeah. Where are we stuck, in your view, Mheshimiwa? And where was Kibaki unstuck? Yeah, I say this because a lot of people laud you and Kibaki for being courageous on corruption.
Yeah.
Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga was telling me yesterday, if you see Martha, tell her she was strong as a minister. He told me to tell you.
Yes, unfortunately, the justice docket was scrapped. Maybe I was too strong, so people have nightmares about it. But I do think that those supporting the president, and those supporting this country, because the fight against corruption does not benefit the president directly, it benefits the country. Anybody who stands up for Kenya, we must join support of the war against corruption. I'm impressed with the office of the DPP. I'm impressed with the Director of Criminal Investigations, but I would like to see more coordination by the justice sector. I would want to see economic crimes and all serious crime, including murder, cases going day to day. No adjournments, unless if it's completely impossible to proceed. We cannot have cases like NYS2 that started last year. We've even lost the thread. We do not know what is happening. Murder cases that happened last year, we're just seeing bail terms being relaxed.
The man of Chicken Gate was jailed. He has finished 3 years.
He finished serving his sentence before the case against the IBC officials in Kenya is finished.
So Martha,
we must have a speedy trial legislation.
On behalf of the people of Kenya, and on behalf of your 2 brothers, one was the President Kibaki, and one is Uhuru. In terms of resolve, I'm sorry, I have to put you in the spot. Where are we in terms of resolve?
I think, let me be fair and say this.
Uhuru.
Let me say this. I won't say Kibaki versus Uhuru. Kibaki is our father, not a brother, age-wise. But I will say this.
Yes.
He had resolve around that time of ANGLO leasing. President Uhuru has shown resolve and the drive is on. But his speech gave the impression, maybe wrongly, during the State of Nation, that amelegeza kidogo. This is not a time to go slow. This is a time to intensify. And I know a majority of Kenyans support this war against graft. This is a time for public education, public discourse, reminding people corruption does not benefit anybody except the corrupt person. And that corruption is denying you basic services, health, infrastructure, education, and denying the youth jobs. Once our youth get that, the president will get 100% support, and those MPs who are engaged in a pushback against the war on corruption will be pressured by the people to behave.
The former vice chair of Jubilee, David Murathe, told me we are scared of Ruto. Are you, Karua, scared?
No, but I am not the one conducting that war.
No, he said, if...
I'm scared only of God.
No, but the issue that my brother was saying, can he govern Kenya?
I think that's a question. I have said many times, personally, I think he's the least qualified. He's totally unsuitable. But it's for Kenyans to decide. But keeping on saying whether or not, you know.
No, I'm not asking Kenyans. I'm asking Karua.
The answer is in my view, he is least qualified, and I've said it. It's actually the pin on my Twitter handle.
Can I then ask you?
Yeah.
Is this judiciary?
Yeah.
Assuming that there was going to be action.
Yeah.
And people would be arrested.
Yeah.
And can they handle the cases?
The judiciary can handle. We have suffered disappointments with the judiciary, but there are also great things being done by this very judiciary. The judiciary is like the country. It has some very good people. It may have a few bad elements.
I know your sister Martha Karua and
it has a few bad elements, but the few bad elements are the ones who get highlighted more than the good. It still happens in government that if you have a few rotten apples or half, the other half, it will eclipse the half that is doing well.
Martha, you are among the people, and it's a privilege to have you on, who people remember the Kibaki, like Michuki. I think you and Michuki, Ambassador Mudhaura, some people remember and say, hey, Kibaki alichagua vizuri. Alikuwa na watu wa kumsaidia, and therefore he was able to do his work. A lot of people ask me and tell me, Tony, uru rafiki yako. Lakini he doesn't have the Karuas.
There are many other people going by other names.
I'm not going to get
Kibaki, the first Kibaki government, a majority of people in that cabinet truly was serving the nation in a very dedicated way. When it became the second government, by the second government, things had changed.
Who do you remember then who worked very well for Kibaki?
Let me not be the ones to give marks, but I know immediately we came in, there were very big changes in the agriculture docket, in the water docket. Even the justice docket had changes, including the radical surgery. Almost all dockets.
I can tell you, Martha, let me just remind you, Materi Kerere, controller, PA, Alfred Gitonga, out. Murungaro, out. Mwiraria, out. Was it even Kiraitu? I mean, Kibaki made decisions, did he not?
He did make tough decisions because part of the people, those around him were saying, these are the pillars of government. They were resisting the purge that time. But everybody has their strong points, their weak points.
I am saying this because Uhuru, I know, will act, from what I hear. But with what he does after, I'm asking for quality people. And the reason I'm saying this is he can't do everything, can he?
No, he can't do everything. But there are enough Kenyans of integrity to choose from. And everybody doesn't have to be in government because lots of people ask, would you go to government? Not everybody has to be in government. But in and out of government, as a patriotic Kenyan, I must remain willing to support, to share ideas.
You were minister, you never took a bribe. Why? Ministers...
I was so focused on serving Kenyans, and it is my belief even today that Kenya is a blessed country with great resources, both human and otherwise. And if we harness those resources, this country will go
What
places.
is you going to tell any cabinet minister who has been named adversely? What would you tell them? You were there. You had the say. What would you tell?
I would tell them you are named
Point blank.
adversely,
I
point
ask.
blank, respect Kenyans, respect your oath of office and our constitution. Go home until you're cleared.
So there should be no gray area, Martha.
There should be no gray area.
And this is a moral issue, not
It is more a moral issue than even legal. By remaining in office when you are named adversely, you are telling us there is something you are trying to protect, that you are there to obstruct investigations. It's a very sad thing. People should never remain in office when adversely named.
This is point blank. Martha Wangari Karua anasema, if you have been named, if you're guilty, you know it in your heart, go home.
And even if you are not guilty, it is conflict of interest to sit in the office when the witnesses are people below you, when files are being handed over to the investigator by your juniors, you will interfere.
Well,
Go
this
home.
is KTN News, point blank,
Yeah.
with Martha Karua. Point blank at KTN News. Mheshimiwa, we were just saying that Kibaki chose well. But is it true? Because at some point, you were considered the blue-eyed member of the Kibaki administration.
I think he chose well, especially the first government. The second government, which was the coalition government, I personally had objections as it was being formed. And I discussed it with him, but he was the boss. I was overruled.
Mheshimiwa, people say you are a mighty difficult woman. Your critics say.
If difficult means standing my ground, I'll tell you that there are issues I will not compromise on.
Yeah, but your critics say you resigned in a half. As Minister for Justice, you were to be Deputy Prime Minister. And Kibaki chose Kenyatta, not you. And people said you left, and you left at the wrong time.
That is absolute nonsense. The coalition government was formed in April 2008. I resigned as Minister of Justice 1 year later, April 2009, having done very serious work for the government. So if it was about not being named Deputy Prime Minister, I would have left in 2000.
So Ziwambiwa Kenya point blank, why did you resign? Was it a half or why?
1 year after the coalition government, I felt my position was not tenable.
Why?
My mandate was administration of justice, the policy. It was fight against corruption, against policy. It was constitutional and legal reforms. And I had also been added cohesion. But the main ones are the ones I have mentioned. And we were doing very well. I moved successfully the amendment to send the Electoral Commission home, and we formed the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Firstly, we had an interim one before the Constitution came. We had an interim Constitutional Court. We had the Kriegler Commission. We had the Waki Commission. All that work, it's me who passed the legislation that have helped to put in all this. So after settling the coalition government, and it was very tough work in Parliament, that's why I'm saying it would be nonsensical to claim I resigned 1 year later after doing such tough work. Then I should have gone home in 2008.
So Mheshimiwa, behind the scenes,
yeah.
Did you talk to Kibaki before you resigned?
No.
You made a decision?
I had had it up to the head, to the neck. But we had had a conversation since December of 2008. I had indicated displeasure in interference with my mandate on the fight against corruption. We had had backroom talk about my interference with the mandate on promoting human rights. You remember Professor Ashton coming and the government spokesman issuing a statement condemning him, yet my position was different. So we had a series of events where my mandate was being acted upon without me being involved. The last straw that broke the camel's back was appointments within the judiciary. And I said, if I'm of no use to the government, because my mandate is to advise the president, if my advice is not being taken, then why should I remain in office taking a salary and I'm being obstructed from being effective?
This is very interesting, Mheshimiwa, this is very interesting.
So I left.
No, this is very interesting.
Yeah.
You're telling Kenyans that every president has weaknesses.
Yeah, and strengths.
So that we should not be unduly critical of Uhuru all the time. That you've seen the weaknesses of Kibaki.
Nobody, not even me, not you. We all have strong points and weak points. And I would say that for Kibaki, today if you ask a Kenyan, they will not remember about coalition government, the corruption that came in when the coalition government was on, they will not remember that. Even me personally, I still hail him for getting Kenya's economy from the ICU to a viable economy whose momentum is being felt today. For making us believe in ourselves again, because the first Kibaki government, 93% of the budget was Kenyan funded. Partners were only playing the role of 7%. I remember him for infrastructure, opening up the roads. The roads that he commissioned, some are still being finished today. I will remember him as the person who reminded us that as Kenyans, we could do it. We could stand on our 2 feet.
So Martha Karua was at home.
Yes.
Breaking news.
Yes.
Odinga na Kenyatta.
Yeah.
Office of the president. Nobody invited.
Yes.
Shaking hands.
Yes.
Sema Karua.
I was happy. I was one of the few politicians from Mount Kenya who had called upon the president and the former prime minister to meet. The tension in the country was rising to dangerous levels. Normal life, especially in the major towns, was becoming impossible. Not a conducive environment for business, for even government to thrive.
So who blinked first, Odinga or Kenyatta?
For me, it doesn't matter. But the moment I heard that they were together, they have shaken hands, I was happy. And I think anybody who does not appreciate that the handshake brought stability, political stability, and brought in a conducive environment for growth would not be talking the truth.
What's your relationship with Odinga?
He's my friend.
And
even when I went to support Uhuru and he was running, I gave him a call and told him, I've changed my support. And he respected my decision. Yeah.
This program is not about William Ruto.
So we did not stop being friends.
This program is not about William Ruto, but I have to ask you, because Murathe told me there will be formations.
Yeah.
Kuna ingine ya Raila na ya Ruto. Karua na Kenya watakuwa.
I definitely would not be Naruto formation, and that's by choice.
So do you think that tribe will bar Odinga from a fair shot in Mount Kenya?
I don't think anybody is barred from anything, because if you remember, even the coalition that brought President Uhuru and his deputy William Ruto to power, it was unimaginable, unthinkable a year before. You see, in politics, a day can be like a millennium.
Tuongee mambo ya idadi ya watu.
Yeah.
As a senior lawyer,
yeah.
What is this census thing, and how do the people of Kirinyaga or Kenya need to understand what is it about?
Census is a necessary tool for development, to know how our population, the actual size of our population and projections for the future, because they take much information, a lot of data, including the birth rate and all that. So it helps, it's a planning tool, and it's something necessary.
No, is it mandatory or a political move that Kenyatta?
No, planning is mandatory.
Wananchi wa kawaida wajui.
It is in the constitution that we have to have census every 10 years, yeah.
And let me ask you, do you have any view of biometric or kuandika na karatasi? Do you have any view of which way or it should be conducted? It
must be conducted in a way that will lead us to accuracy. Biometrics is okay. it is faster, but we must have reliable biometrics, not the biometrics we used for elections. And later when we ask for data, we are told it is with saffron in France.
Does not Kenya have any confidence with the current IBC and such challenges are coming? Or are things which have been discussed behind the scenes? Or do you?
I think we really have to soul search. We have serious structural difficulties with IBC, but we also have problem with ourselves as Kenyans. It is political parties and political party players who corrupt the IEBC. Remember, the IEBC is not a party to elections, but a political party operative or a political party will compromise individuals in IEBC for a certain outcome. We as political parties must agree to play by the rule book.
So does this handshake environment allow you as a party leader and the other party leaders to kind of use the situation when we detoxicate politics? Is there a chance, a window now?
There is a window, and we are calling on the two principles in the handshake. It is time to open up. The handshake must go beyond the two initiators. The table must be expanded so that other Kenyans can come in, so we all can sit at the table and discuss our future.
Is Martha Karua willing to be at that table?
I told you Martha Karua was one of the earliest, when it was not politically correct in Mount Kenya. There was even a demonstration barring me from entering the court when I was going for my petition, saying Martha is NASA. And I told them NASA is a political party, because I had called for the handshake. So there is a window of opportunity, which as a nation, we must take advantage of.
Mheshimiwa, Kenyans trust you. This mambo ya referendum, the 2010 constitution, you resigned before it was promulgated.
But participated very robustly in Naivasha as a member of the Parliamentary Select Committee, who was non-aligned because I was neither PNU nor ODM. And both parties therefore had more trust. They were taking what I was saying seriously because I didn't belong to any of the two.
So I don't want you to go through all the questions or proposals. Do you have a specific thing on the referendum, a viewpoint on some issue?
I have a viewpoint that the constitution we have is as a result of very serious and protracted negotiations. Opening up of the constitution when we must, as we must be a result of negotiated.
And for the record, I want this clear.
We must discuss.
And I needed this to be clear, that you are going to look at this issue of the Judicial Service Commission, if a question is to be put.
Issue of gender parity in representation, issue of the electoral, issue of the judiciary, including the Judicial Service Commission, because that's not the only...
independence.
That's not the only reform. We must always maintain the independence of the judiciary. But we must separate policy and the technical, the operational issues, you see?
Yes.
So that we are not overloading the office of the Chief Justice.
For the younger viewers who may not remember, you became famous on the Karua IPPG.
Yeah.
Sasa hiyo babu IPPG, ilitoka wapi?
IPPG was like the handshake.
It was during Moi's tenure.
At a time, the opposition and government, which was a KANU government, were not even talking in parliament, not listening to each other. We used to boo each other. When government is talking, we boo. When we are talking, they boo. We saw the country was on the brink of chaos. And we decided as members of parliament that we were going to sit down and find ways of settling the issues that were bothering Kenyans. And we enacted minimum reforms, legal reforms abolishing detention without trial, abolishing offenses like sedition. We opened the democratic space to enable multi-party politics to thrive. And that is what set the stage for the eventual ouster of KANU in 2002.
You sit among the ranks of great women, Charity Ngilu, Jane Kiano, Zipporah Kitoni, Martha Karua. Who are your favorite pioneers?
And the late Wangari Maathai, who remains an icon.
Talk about who are your icons in the women who've done...
Many movement, in the women movement and the women of Kenya, I used to see as I grew up, people like Dr. Eda Gachoka, Professor Julia Ojambo, Grace Ogot. I used to see an array of women, even people like Phoebe Asio. And we used to admire them. And we used to hear of Professor Wangari Maathai, you know, a very learned woman. And when I came to the university, people like Professor Michelle Githai Mogo, those were our icons. And they definitely mentored us indirectly.
So to the girl child, I don't know, or to the boy child, I mean, what have women done?
We become
Have
mentors.
you done too little? Are you looking for...
Women have done so much.
Affirmative action?
Which is
Are you looking for
undocumented?
favors, Martha?
No. And I want to remind Kenyans, today, people who come from areas that have been marginalized in development have affirmative action in the Constitution in form of increased budgetary allocation. They are not seeking a favor. They are seeking to redress years of marginalization. We had even affirmative action in admission of their children to national schools, not because their children are daft.
Yeah.
So when it's because of years of marginalization, when we talk of affirmative action for women, it's not because women are not able, it's to redress historical imbalances.
So tell the woman at home, why when Gilu stood for president, more men voted for her than women?
No.
Hillary Clinton?
It was not more
Hillary
men.
Clinton?
In all ballots, there are more women voting than men. So never be told by anyone that more men have voted for a woman than women. For all candidates, there are more women voting, more youth voting than other groups.
So now, not academically,
yes,
wanawake wanakusiza. You're a role model. They're there. They're in their fireplace watching Point Blank.
What I'm
They're
saying
watching Mother
is
Karua
this.
Point Blank. No, you tell them, not me. What are you telling women?
I'm telling the women and our sons, like Tony here. I am telling our sons, our husbands, all the members of our families, both male and female, you know the work of your mother. And you know where you would be without your mother. You know women are performers. Give women their space. Affirmative action redresses historical injustices that women have not been given the free rein to compete for seats. Even today, in the major political parties, women are removed from the list of the candidates contesting and their promised nomination. If as many women vied as men, the electorate will elect more women. When I was vying, my original party in 1992 rigged me out of party elections in September. The elections were in December. I realized they will similarly rig me for nominations. I moved to DP. Had I not moved to DP then, I would never have been a member of parliament in 1992. I'm trying to say this. It's not possible in this show to say all the barriers that are erected for a woman. But even today, when I vied for president, I campaigned, and I know this for a fact. I went to more corners of Kenya than any other candidate. I campaigned on issues, and people seemed to resonate with them. I didn't get the votes for it, you see? Women are measured differently than men. But I want now to ask people of Kenya, always remember your mother and the role she has played in your life, in the welfare of your family, and you will know that a woman is a performer. And imagine you are home without your mother, and you will realize what Kenya is missing today is enough women in positions of power and decision-making. And we are not saying women are angels. But you need both male and female perspective. And we need to remember talent resides in both women and men.
Well
when
said.
you only tap talent of men, you ignore half the resources of the country.
Martha, well said. But tell me,
Yeah.
and I'm sorry, and to the family of this young girl, I don't even want to say her name.
Yeah.
How does somebody butcher a girl in her dream?
I'll say her name. The family of Ivy Wangeshi, Poleni Sana. The name that should never be said is the name of her attacker. If I may adopt the style of Jacinda Ardern, who is the Prime Minister of New Zealand. Ivy represents young women of Kenya. We are bringing up our male with toxic masculinity, where a man will not take no from a young girl, and all they can do is butcher them. The man who butchered her is a young man, but we are bringing up our men to think that a woman have no say, including say over their own lives.
I must say for KTN News and the Standard Media Group, we give condolences.
Yeah.
I won't name, anyway, enough said.
Yeah.
It's very painful.
It's painful.
So painful.
I feel it.
Anyway, I need to discuss some issue.
As a mother, yeah.
Is this the norm in our villages?
We must start to worry
is this happening?
How we are bringing up our children, and this responsibility goes to both mothers and fathers. We must start teaching our children to respect each other, both male and female, and the best way to teach your children is how you handle each other in the home. If the father is forever backing at the mother, if the father is fighting the mother, we are teaching our children violence as leaders. Look at how parliament people deal with each other.
Mheshimiwa, this interview is about this great woman called Karua, and I'm sorry, I didn't want to. It's painful matters. Has Kenya been fair to you? Have you got a good shake?
I would say yes.
You had a chance to be the deputy prime minister. Arguably, had you been, you'd have been a leading contender for president.
No,
do you feel?
I still was a leading contender, even without being deputy prime minister. I want to remind you that on a poll done by Ipsos, just after I had resigned, my popularity was at 19 points. Raila was at 17. Kibaki was at 8. Uhuru was at 6. But through concerted efforts of the deep state and of the media, which is also dominated by males, the media was continuously saying she is a good candidate, but she cannot make it.
But have you broken the ceiling, or is there a crack?
The ceiling is yet to be broken. Glass ceiling is still waiting, and we are still there. Our daughters are lining behind us, and we are there doing what we can.
This woman, this great woman, Martha Wangari Karua, what's your future? Where are you? Where is your family? Where?
I see my future as limitless. So long as God gives me breath in me, I'll keep doing what I have to do and what I do best, and I remain open and willing to serve Kenyans.
You are a lawyer.
I will not make any declaration right here, but I am saying I am still
No, you can't escape point blank. What I am saying in 2022, utakuwa kwa game ama utakuwa umeenda retirement?
I have not retired, that's what
So
I
am putting to you point blank. Millions are watching. Is Karua going to be a factor in 2022?
Very much a factor.
Now, I want to ask you a softer question.
Yes.
I hear you're a good golfer.
Yeah.
What?
I enjoy the game. I don't know about good, but I enjoy the game.
It's a man's world.
It
seems you want to find...
It makes me walk at least 7 to 9 kilometers, depending on the course.
Yes.
And it's a game you play against yourself because you play against your handicap, not against the next person.
In the US, becoming a lawyer is a very important part of trying politics. When these young girls are watching you, you're their role model. Has doing law or being a good lawyer assisted you in venturing into politics, or you don't think it did or not?
No, it has. Law blends...
For the young girls?
Law blends very well with politics.
And why?
Because as a lawyer, and especially a litigation lawyer, which I was, you are practicing the art of representing your client. And politics is about representing the electorate. And as a lawmaker, a parliamentarian, you are a lawmaker or legislator. Therefore, being a lawyer puts you ahead of the pack and helps you. So for me, it was an asset. I've used it, and I'm not saying only lawyers make good parliamentarians, even non-lawyers, because law is a social science.
Does the politics demean the woman? The scandals, for many women get scared, politics. And
whether you
do you regret it?
Whether you're a woman or man, the scandals that attend politics will come.
I know, but
Life
as a woman,
is a struggle.
and you?
I have no regrets, and I was made for tough times. The tougher it gets, the better I become.
And therefore, women should not shy?
No.
From
women should not shy.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, there are men who also are scared and are not
How do you
battle-hardened.
rate currently the opportunity for women in leadership positions, generally across
Did you say the opportunity?
or the lack of it?
I think
Generally.
there's still lack of opportunity, and that's why I'm saying
In a
we
nutshell.
should consider proportional representation, which is more friendly, because then you have a party list of possible people you would make representatives should your party win. And that list, we should make a law that it should be a zebra list.
I need to ask you, at the community level at home, women are elected everywhere, to agriculture committees, to cooperatives, to the...
Not in enough numbers. Just
Why
few.
not important? Sorry?
That is, you see, until we start teaching our children in our homes and in schools, the need to respect both men and women, the need for equality, we will not get enough women elected. What is happening in the agricultural committee, there will be a woman. Maybe one or two, not enough. So actually, we need to work towards a more just and equal society. And I'm telling Kenyans, nobody will make this country for us. Nobody will clear our mess, our corruption mess, our bad leadership and bad role modeling by leaders. It is us, me and you, who must do this. And I'm telling our youth, so long as you elect people without values, corrupt people, you are allowing them to eat your jobs, eat the services you would have gotten, education, eat your education, you are actually condemning yourself to a bad life.
You're watching Point Blank here at KTN. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. Martha Karua is a tough woman. Mheshimiwa, thank you very much, Martha Karua, for coming to KTN and the Standard Media Group.
Thank you for having me. It's a great show.
Oh,
I've been watching it.
I hope.
Yes, yes.
Thank you very much.
Point Blank by TG was filmed on location at the Nairobi Serena Hotel.